They said robots would take our jobs, but they didn't say they'd take our purpose. For decades, we've been told automation would make life easier, that machines would handle the hard work so humans could finally be free. But somewhere along the way, free started to look like unemployed. Every year, the line blurs a little more. Factory floors go silent, cashiers vanish behind self-checkouts, and now even art, music, and writing belong to the algorithms. This isn't science fiction anymore, it's happening quietly everywhere, right now. So the question isn't if automation will replace us, it's what will be left when it does. The battle between human labor and automation. Automation, it's the quiet force reshaping everything around us. At its core, it means replacing human effort, physical or mental, with machines, algorithms, and systems that can do the same job, only faster, cheaper, and without fatigue. It began centuries ago, during the Industrial Revolution. Steam engines roared to life, replacing muscle with metal. Farmers, weavers, miners, entire generations watched their trades vanish almost overnight. For the first time in history, people realized a machine could outperform them. By the early 1900s, the assembly line refined that idea. Every movement was timed, every task reduced to its most efficient form. Factories became symbols of progress and of control. The human being became just another cog in the production wheel. Then came the digital revolution. Computers, automation software, industrial robots. Suddenly, it wasn't just about building cars or weaving cloth. Machines could handle data, logistics, and communication. The jobs that once require entire offices fit neatly inside a single program. And now the newest revolution isn't mechanical, it's intellectual. Artificial intelligence doesn't just follow instructions, it learns, it adapts, it creates. From warehouse workers to writers, truck drivers to translators, no profession feels completely safe anymore. Automation isn't just changing how we work, it's changing what it means to work. It's forcing us to question where humans still fit in a world that's learning to function without us. Today, we're diving deep into how automation reshaped labor, what jobs are next on the line, and whether humanity can adapt before it's too late. It started with a hum, the sound of steam, gears, and progress. In the late 1700s, the world shifted from hand to machine. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just an era of invention, it was a complete redefinition of what human labor meant. Before then, everything came from people. Blacksmiths hammering iron, farmers sewing by hand, weavers crafting fabric thread by thread. Work was physical, tangible, personal. But then came the engines, steam-powered machines that could spin faster, move heavier loads, and never tire. For the first time, humans found themselves standing next to something that could outperform them. Entire industries transformed overnight. Factories rose like cathedrals to efficiency, fast halls filled with clanking metal and endless repetition. At first, it was awe-inspiring. Production soared. The world modernized, but with every new machine came whispers of fear. Workers wondered, if a loom can weave faster than a person, what happens to the weaver? Those fears weren't unfounded. Thousands lost their livelihoods as machines spread through every trade. The Luddites famously took to the streets, destroying the very technology that threatened to erase them. They weren't rebels against progress, they were fighting for survival. Still, humanity did what it always does. It adapted. New industries emerged, railroads, steel mining, communication. A new working class was born to build, repair, and operate the very machines that once replaced them. For a while, balance returned. But history moves in patterns. Every technological leap brings the same promise. That innovation will make life easier, that efficiency will set us free, and every time, it also brings the same shadow. Displacement, inequality, and the quiet erosion of human value. Back then, machines took our muscle. They replaced strength, speed, and endurance, the physical side of work. Today, they're taking something far more intimate, our minds. Where we once feared losing our hands, now we fear losing our creativity, our intelligence, our purpose. And as the next generation of machines rises, powered not by steam, but by code, the old story begins again. By the 20th century, automation had evolved beyond gears and pistons. Factories no longer needed rows of workers tightening bolts by hand. They had precision robots doing it thousands of times faster, with zero fatigue and zero error. Manufacturing was the first battlefield. Assembly lines that once employed hundreds reduced to a handful of technicians monitoring robot arms. Entire plants went silent, except for the hum of machines working through the night. Then came retail. The cashier's smile was replaced by a touchscreen. Self-checkouts multiplied across grocery stores and fast food chains, while online shopping algorithms learned to predict what you wanted before you even searched for it. Convenience became the new god, and human presence became optional. Customer service followed close behind. Call centers downsized as chatbots learned to speak like us, answer like us, and even apologize like us. The hold music stayed the same, but the voices on the other end weren't real anymore. And now, the wave has reached the creative world, the one place we thought machines could never touch. AI can draw, compose, and write. It mimics human emotion with eerie accuracy. It learned style, rhyme, tone, and never tires of producing. Artists, musicians, and writers suddenly find themselves in the same position factory workers did a century ago, watching their craft become data. A 2023 report estimated that over 300 million jobs could be affected by AI, but statistics don't capture what that really means. They don't show the workers packing their things after decades on the job. They don't show the artist whose work is copied by a model trained on their portfolio. They don't show the teacher, the driver, the designer, quietly replaced by efficiency. Because behind every upgrade, behind every new breakthrough and convenience, is someone whose value just got rewritten. And for the first time in history, the machines aren't just taking our labor, they're taking our place. For generations, work was more than survival. It was identity. It was pride, purpose, belonging. What you did was who you were, but automation is rewriting that language. When a machine takes your job, it doesn't just take your paycheck, it takes the meaning attached to it. People who spent decades mastering a craft suddenly find that mastery obsolete. The factory worker replaced by a robotic arm, the truck driver watching self-driving convoys roll out of test facilities, the cashier, the call center rep, the copywriter, all told the same thing. You can reskill. But reskilling isn't as simple as it sounds. Not everyone can pivot into tech overnight. Not every 50-year-old machinist can become a data analyst. And not every artist wants to collaborate with AI just to stay relevant. The truth is, society loves to preach adaptation, but it rarely offers the tool to make it possible. The gap between the tech savvy and the left behind keeps growing. Those who understand the systems rise higher, and those who don't vanish quietly from the workforce. You can see it in the trucking industry. Once a symbol of independence and grit, millions of drivers spend their lives on the road, delivering everything that keeps the modern world moving. Now, autonomous fleets promise to cut costs and reduce accidents, but they also threaten to erase an entire way of life. For many drivers, the fear isn't just losing income, it's losing purpose. Because when your livelihood becomes inefficient, you start to wonder if maybe you are too. We built machines to free ourselves from the burden of labor, but somewhere along the line, we became the disposable parts. And as automation spreads from factories to offices to art studios, the question grows heavier. What happens to a society that no longer needs most of its people to function? Because progress, as it turns out, doesn't always move everyone forward. Automation has always promised progress, but every revolution brings its own kind of battlefield. The paradox is that automation doesn't just destroy jobs, it creates them too. But the people gaining those new roles aren't usually the same ones who lost the old ones. The factory worker is replaced by a robotic engineer. The cashier disappears, and in place comes a software designer. The work doesn't vanish, it just moves higher up the ladder, further out of reach. We've shifted from physical labor to digital management. The average worker now oversees screens instead of machines, manages systems instead of tools. And as jobs become more abstract, the divide widens between those who control the technology and those controlled by it. That's where the ethical question begins. Should companies prioritize efficiency over people? When automation saves billions in labor costs, who actually benefits? The workers or the shareholders? Is progress still progress if it leaves millions behind? We're already seeing the backlash. Strikes erupt across industries demanding AI-free zones. Actors, writers, and artists rally against studios and tech companies using their likeness or work without consent. Truckers and delivery workers block highways, protesting automation that promises safety and profit, but threatens to erase their way of life. The tension is growing, not just between man and machine, but between those who own the machines and those who don't. For decades, automation was sold as liberation, freedom from the grind. But in practice, it's become something closer to control. Because when your survival depends on systems you didn't build and can't understand, you're no longer the master of progress. You're a passenger, watching as the future drives itself. For centuries, humanity's strength came from what machines couldn't do. They could lift more, build faster, compute quicker, but they couldn't feel. They couldn't dream, imagine, or connect. That was supposed to be our edge, but now even that line is starting to blur. Machines can write poetry, paint portraits, compose songs that sound like they came from the human soul. They can simulate empathy, mimic conversation, and even generate faces that look more real than reality itself. So if machines can do everything, what's left for us? Maybe the answer isn't competition, maybe it's coexistence. Humans still hold something that can't be measured in data or code: perspective. We create meaning out of chaos. We see patterns not because we're told to, but because we want to. Empathy, curiosity, morality, those aren't lines of code. They're the essence of being human. In the future of work, our value might not come from efficiency, but from imagination. From the ability to tell stories, to interpret, to dream up worlds that machines could never live in, only simulate. Maybe our role isn't to outthink AI, but to guide it. To design, to oversee, to make sure the systems we build still serve something bigger than profit or precision, because when everything else can be automated, the most human skill left might simply be remembering what humanity means. The future of work is no longer about how much we can do, it's about what we should do. If automation continues to replace human labor, we'll have to rethink the entire foundation of society. How we learn, how we live, how we find purpose. Some believe the answer lies in universal basic income, a safety net that ensures survival even when traditional jobs disappear. It's a radical idea, but it's already being tested in countries around the world. If machines create the wealth, people should still share in it. Others imagine a world with shorter work weeks, where automation handles the grind and humans finally have time to live, to learn, to create, to rest. The dream isn't endless productivity, it's balance. And maybe the most realistic vision is partnership. Not man versus machine, but man with machine. A world where AI becomes a collaborator, not a competitor. Doctors diagnosing with algorithms, writers brainstorming with models, architects designing with generative tools. It's a future that could free us, or one that could quietly trap us in dependency. The difference will depend on who controls the technology and what values guide its use. Because maybe the goal was never to outwork machines, but to redefine what work means. If progress gives us the power to step away with endless labor, then maybe for the first time in history, we can focus on the things that truly make us human: creativity, connection, and purpose. The future of work isn't about survival anymore. It's about deciding what kind of world we want to build now that we finally have the power not to build at all. Automation isn't the enemy, it's a mirror. It shows us what we value most: convenience or purpose. We built these machines to serve us, to make life easier, but in doing so, we've revealed something deeper: what we're willing to trade for comfort, and what parts of ourselves we still refuse to surrender. The future isn't written yet. Maybe AI will destroy millions of jobs, or maybe it'll free us from them. Maybe it'll make us lazier, or maybe it'll finally give us time to chase what truly matters. What do you think? Do you see automation as the end of human labor, or the beginning of something new? If you enjoyed this deep dive, drop a like, subscribe, and comment what part of automation worries you the most, or excites you. Thanks for watching, and remember, the future doesn't wait for anyone. It's already here.